Okay, so in the map that's under um, the peer review document, which is in your checklist for the week, use this to actually write if you want. But in the map, you will notice that when you get to the actual body of your paper, there's a whole list of stuff here. You've already learned this, but seeing it in this format might be intimidating. So let's just take a moment to go over it. So you'll have a title for your claim one. You'll call it something or another. And then you're going to list it actually in the writing. Like you're going to say your claim at the top of your claim section. You're going to do a ton of attribution. In your midterm, you learned that these are the 11 items in which you can talk about when talking about a source. Anytime you're talking about a source's opinion, it is not a fact. You should be doing attribution, and you should be pointing out the most important thing about that source. Are they biased? Is it from a left or right leaning organization? What are the credentials of the author, right? This is important stuff. But this is before you dive into the opinion or shortly after, and before you start to use it really with significance in your paper. So that diving into the opinion and using the facts and the figures and what the opinion actually says, that supports. So that comes next in your paper. You need to have narrative, so real world examples of how what you're saying is affecting penguins or students or lions or whatever you're talking about. Real world examples. You can shuffle your narrative. You can put narrative first if you want to have like a mini claim hook. That's cool if you want to do that. You're the king of your paper. However you want to do your paper, you do you. That's cool, but these elements should be mixed in there somewhere in your soup. Your analysis needs to be in your papers. That's you restating what all these sources were saying or how the sources relate one to another. They're using key words, transition words, also known as academic idioms, such as in turn, similarly, opposed to, those types of things. And then you could also use your own voice saying how what the author's main thesis is relates to your thesis statement. You've seen several examples of this throughout the semester of analysis. And then to round out your CSC section, because CSC sections are round, you restate the claim before you end the section. That's restating your original claim. So this is solid academic writing right here. We, as readers, expect this structure. We know what to look for. As I was scrolling through in the last video, my paper, I was able to just say, well, that's not her main thesis. That's not her main thesis. I was able to say that quickly because I saw citations. And academics get good at reading papers and they can see where your ideas are and other people's ideas are because the form is so familiar. That's why when you go off of a familiar form, you lose your reader very, very quickly. So while you can jumble up this part of your paper, don't lose your CSC form. Your claim comes near the top, you restate your claim at the end. That's good CSC form. You also have a map of it in your introduction. And you also restate your claim in the conclusion as well, each of them. So your reader's seeing them 4 times. So this really checklist that I have here is pretty handy dandy. Note that you can subdivide. You can subdivide sections within your claim section. So your claim section isn't one paragraph. It could be 5 pages long. And those 5 pages, just proving one claim true, could have subsections in them. And one of the subsections could be all the sources who disagree with you, and then another subsection could be all the sources that agree with you. However you want to organize it, that's cool with me. Organize your subsections how you need to organize them. You can be creative in this, or you don't have to be, right? It's going to be better if you do some sort of organization with your sources. Okay, so moving on. So as you note here, I'm not requiring a literature review. That is more for a scientific paper when you have not just secondary research review, but you actually have done your own methodology and analysis of data. Then your lit review would come into play. For here, the lit review is expanded into your actual paper, your CSC sections, and that's why we did what we did in paper 4. Okay, so let's look at some pretty good examples then of Paper 5 CSC sections. This first one is about Title IX, and it is one CSC section. It's really short, but it's really well done. Really short, really well done. Realistically, a CSC section for a final paper should be like 3 to 5 pages long, just one section, right? So let's just look at this. So the main thesis is the Title IX is simply accomplishing what it was meant to accomplish, equality. Now, the student originally started out arguing that Title IX was not accomplishing what it meant to accomplish. So the student actually did a bunch of research and found that he was wrong. He was wrong. When he was wrong, he changed his thesis. Awesome job. That is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be flexible enough and unbiased that if you find yourself wrong, you change your mind. So let's look at the student's claim. One way that equality is being reached is apparent in participation levels. Okay, so this student is going to say that participation levels are measures of equality and it's being reached. Okay? Women now participate in athletics at much higher levels than they did before Title IX. The increase in participation can be noticed on a variety of levels. So this is redundant. This is like the student said the same thing 3 times. That could be tightened up. According to the National, here we go, according to, I know they're citing a source here, Women's Law Center, before the introduction of Title IX, fewer than 300,000 girls participated in high school athletics nationwide. Awesome, I see an in-text citation. However, they did not need to introduce the credentials of this because this was just a quick statistic. However, if the National Law Center had been introducing an opinion, then it would have been more appropriate to say according to the National Law Center. So it's a little bit of wasted ink there, but no big deal. By 1994, over 2 million young women participated in these same high school sports, and that number continues to rise. Okay, so this student did an in-text citation for the same source in 2 different sentences. Now, because they did an introduction here, the National Center, they didn't need this one. This one could have been nixed, and just this one could have stood. Then I would have known from this is the source, and then this is the end point, and everything in between is the source. So this is called oversighting. In 1972, only 1 in 27 girls participated in athletics. Okay, quick fact, I don't see a source, so they're doing better here. That number is now grown to almost 1 in 2, an increase of over 800%. Block. Good, better. Not only have high school girls experienced positive changes, but an increase in participation can be noticed at the collegiate level as well. Their own analysis. This is a transition here. So not only high school, but now I'm going to talk about college. So it was their own voice sneaking in here to give some analysis of where they're going in their work. Prior to the introduction of Title IX, only 16,000 college women participated in athletics. Today, over 158,000 women compete at our nation's collegiate institutions. Awesome. In fact, women currently represent 42% of total college athletics. Awesome. Considering that in 1972, women represented only 2% of our nation's collegiate athletics, this is an incredible increase from pre-Title IX days. Notice this. Maura, harder, and back to Maura. That's the conversation. That's the dance. Back and forth, back and forth. When you're having a conversation with someone in a room, one person hopefully doesn't dominate the entire thing and talk the whole time. It's a back and forth, a give and take, point by point, right? It's organized by ideas. And so you all comment on an idea, and then you move on to another idea, and you all comment on it. That's the way good writing is done as well. So this is a really good example. I would give this an A. Obviously not perfect for the reasons that I've defined already, but this is an A work. This is beginning research writing work. Good job here to this anonymous student.